Next on Newsbeat, the bleepin' secret is out. The Mary Mantle tweeter has been revealed, and there's a Columbia College connection.
Plus, does it feel like every time you blink gas prices change? Chances are you're right. We'll take a look at the pain at the pump.
But first, 16 days strong, union protesters continue in Wisconsin with no signs of letting up. Newsbeat starts right now.
It's a fight that has sparked a national debate. Good morning, I'm Allison Rodriguez.
And I'm Jennifer Sheehan. Protesters are upset over their government's plan to cut union pay and benefits. Newsbeat's Lucas Seiler traveled to Madison. He's here now with our top story. Lucas?
Our neighboring state is facing one of the most controversial bills ever that could change for our outlook on unions. The outcome so far, public workers clashing with their newly elected governor. I took a closer look.
This is what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
This is just one of the many chants that echo throughout the snowy and jam-packed streets of Wisconsin's capital in opposition of a bill affecting unions. Nearly 2 weeks of protesting, Madison is seeing its largest number of ralliers yet, with numbers in the thousands. All of these people waiting in line are waiting to get inside the Capitol to voice their opinion.
Unfair to workers, first of all, because we are willing to give up pay, we're willing to give up benefits, we're willing to make concessions, we're willing to bargain, to negotiate, to talk, to discuss, to solve problems, but we are not willing to give up our voice.
The bill that is being passed is going to destroy education in the state of Wisconsin, and it's going to destroy the livelihood and the health care for poor and the elderly, and it's just an abomination.
We're wondering what this is all about. It really appears that Walker is after destroying the unions.
Republican Governor Scott Walker is under attack for moving this controversial budget-cutting bill along. He says it is the only way to dig their state out of economic ruin.
Collective bargaining has a cost. It has a cost not only in terms of health care and pension contributions, it has a cost overall in terms of how our governments operate at the local level. And we've got to change that relationship so that we can preserve jobs and ultimately, most importantly, so that the corrections we make for this budget aren't one-time fixes or short-term fixes.
But Democrats who fled the state to avoid a vote to pass the bill say they are shocked that it would end collective bargaining rights and at how fast he pushed the bill through, avoiding compromise.
An underhanded and an unethical abuse of power to achieve this goal of trampling on worker rights.
One very common thing I heard was that people wanted both parties to sit down together at a table, face-to-face, and find common ground, but amendments to the bill look anything but likely, and Scott Walker announced today that he plans to cut $900 million from education. Protesters remain at the Capitol.
Now, Lucas, what exactly is collective bargaining?
Yeah, because it's a little bit confusing.
For those who don't know, it's a series of negotiations between public workers and their employers. They work for higher wages and hours like that. So what's interesting about this bill is that they'll still be able to work for higher wages, just not past the inflation rate.
Okay, thank you so much for that report, Lucas. Now, the two men accused of a double murder in Edgewater over the weekend were already under police surveillance. Police say Augustine Toscano and Raul Segura Rodriguez were already suspects in at least 10 drug-related killings. Officials say they were members of a drug ring that stretched from Chicago to Mexico. The crew allegedly set up fake drug deals across the city, then robbed and killed their customers. At this hour, Jody Weiss is out of a job. His contract as police boss ended today. Mayor-elect Rahm Emanuel says he will likely replace him. Emanuel says that they have different philosophies when it comes to fighting crime. Under Weiss's watch, overall crime has dropped. Weiss credits his controversial meeting with gangs this summer to a 40% drop in homicide rates.
Now, what you don't want to hear. Gas prices have now reached a 2-year high. According to AAA, regular unleaded is now $3.36. In Chicago, try $3.59. You might have noticed some gas stations have even hit the $4 mark. You can blame the unrest in the Middle East. The bleepin' secret is out. A Columbia professor says he is the fake Mayor Emanuel on Twitter. Here's Dan Sinker, a journalism professor in the building on East Congress. His satirical account documents a month-long journey of booze, celery, salt, and F-bombs. Sinker had over 40,000 followers, including your mayor-elect Emanuel. Emanuel said he plans to donate $5,000 to a charity of Sinker's choice. Ahead on Newsbeat, a drastic change for a certain group of canners. How could it affect you? Next.
Plus, massive protesters continue the rage in Libya, how the U.S. is now putting pressure on that country's leader to step down.
And the Chicago Blackhawks finally look like last year's champions. Ahead, a wild night on the ice last night. Details coming up in sports.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Cotton balls. Duct tape. Spoon.
Needle.
Thread. Scalpel.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
The U.S. is keeping up the pressure on Muammar Gaddafi to step down. In some of the harshest language yet, U.S. officials have called the Libyan leader delusional for insisting he hadn't used forces against his own people. The U.S. Treasury Department is freezing $30 billion in assets. U.S. officials have also pledged to help refugees trying to escape the crisis.
New Zealand came to a standstill today as people marked the moment a deadly earthquake shattered the country's second biggest city, Christchurch, a week ago. Yesterday, officials began burying the dead. A 5-month-old boy was among the first laid to rest. The death toll so far is 148, but more than 50 people are still missing. Authorities say that any more survivors are highly unlikely.
A somber goodbye over the weekend for former Bears player Dave Durson. Durson shot himself in the chest on Friday, February 17th. Right before committing suicide, Durson texted family members requesting his brain be donated to science. The Bears' former safety believed his NFL experience led to severe brain trauma.
The last U.S. veteran of World War I has died. Frank Buckles enlisted in the Army in August 1917 and served in both World Wars. Buckles has been the last World War I veteran in the U.S. since February of 2008. He died of natural causes in his West Virginia home. Buckles was 110.
Next on Newsbeat, a big blow for some tanning regulators. See which age group could be soon restricted.
And see how a Chicago artist is in trouble for recording his own arrest. Find out why he says this affects everybody.
And good morning to you. I'm Catherine Gamby, here to tell you that Chicago's warming up this week, but we're still feeling that nasty bite of winter. Stay tuned to see the weekly weather forecast next on Newsbeat.